Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. We are very excited to be hosting you today. My name is Nzele Ndlovu. We are looking at customer experience in 2022. What will change for financial services in Africa? So this event is brought to you by Fintech Summit Africa in collaboration with Freshworks. And Freshworks provides intelligent customer engagement software for businesses of all sizes, making it easy for teams to win customers for life. And their software as a service products are ready to go, easy to use, and offer quick return on investment. Now, we're very excited and look forward to a very engaging discussion today. We have got a panel of experts that are going to be, sharing insights into this wonderful topic. The one who's going to lead the discussions is Vivek Ethiraj, and Vivek is the head of pre-sales at Middle East and Africa at Freshworks, for Middle East and Africa for Freshworks. And he will be joined by Nthabeleng Mohapi, the service designer at Nedbank, Akona Bashe, head of fintech integration at Liberty Group South Africa, and Yudhvir Sitharam, the head of analytics and insights and research at F&B Business. So we look forward to this discussion. Please feel free to use the Q&A panel if you have any questions during the course of the webinar. So yeah, with no further ado, we'll hand over to Vivek to lead us. Vivek.
Thank you, Nzele. Good afternoon to everybody. I'd like to welcome all of you, all the participants for joining us today. And a special thank you to our panelists, Nthabeleng, Akona, and Yudhvir. I will let them introduce themselves, a brief introduction. Let's begin with Nthabeleng. Could you please go ahead?
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Nthabeleng Mohapi, and I am a service designer at Nedbank. I think one of the things I'm really passionate about is client experience. I do have a CX background. So prior to me being a service designer, which I really think is more an extension of what CX is, it is more specialized field within CX. I do have experience in both in the call center environment, and basically I've been with the bank for quite some time, about 15 years in banking. And I'm excited about today's session and looking forward to sharing all these insights with you guys.
Thank you, Nthabeleng. Can we move to Akona, please?
Thanks, Vivek. So my name is Akona. I head up partnerships at Liberty Group, a position I've had for a year and a half. And in essence, we just work with fintech partnerships to enhance the customer experience. So like Nthabeleng, something that I'm extremely passionate about is omnichannel and seamless end-to-end customer experiences. Before that, I was at F&B. Also super innovative, super passionate about customer journeys, and I am very excited about being in this panel. Thank you, Vivek.
Thank you, Akona. Yudhvir, could you please go next?
Thanks. My name is Yudhvir Sitharam. I look after analytics for F&B Commercial. So in relation to customer experience, it's about us trying to understand the customer, be able to map whether we're talking personas, or be able to map customer journeys, and be able to then take the customers through those journeys that we've mapped. I'm also linked to Wits University as an associate professor over there, focusing on behavioral finance. Thanks.
Thank you, Yudhvir. Warm welcome again to all our panelists. I'd just like to make a quick introduction of who we are, what do we do, and what this session is all about. I think Nzele has already mentioned that we're talking about the CX trends that are going to be prevalent in 2022 and what's coming. And we've got our leaders from various organizations here who will be sharing our insights on it. A little bit of background as to how we came about putting these particular trends into the compilation today to share with all of you. We at Freshworks have been in this business since 2010, where we have over 50,000 companies using Freshworks SaaS products that cater to specifically customer experience and employee experience, right? And we are bringing about and solving business challenges so that customers and employees are happy to do what they're doing and get maximum value and satisfaction to wow the end user experience. So a couple of few brands that we have customers in the region, I think notable is Emirates NBD. Multi-choice, I think, is something that would have touched all of you in your day-to-day usage of television and programs, and there's quite a few others who are our customers and are using our product infinitely. Yeah. So coming down to our topic, what's the future for CX in the BFSI segment, right? We have noticed that in 2020, all of us have been privy and have been affected by what has happened globally, right? Where people have been contained to their homes and not able to socialize, go out and go about their business. So it was a challenge for all of us to cope with. 2020, we took as much precaution, and in 2021, we realized that the BFSI segment specifically had to open up with all precautions to enable transactions to happen, right? And customers were avoiding coming to public spaces such as the bank branches, right? And started moving towards virtual interactions, right? So 2021 was all about bringing those changes, allowing for access, allowing end customers to access the BFSI segment to do their transactions, to bring in new business, right? And what's happening in 2022, right? So this is the second year where customers, even though the pandemic is taking a backseat, but customers have gotten used to a new way of working and a new way of being serviced, right? So our analysts and industry bodies have gone ahead and searched and researched and brought about these trends that we are noticing, right? Let's move to trend number one. We see that customers have got so used to getting what they want immediately. They want it right now, right? So while the customers are interacting with their favorite brands online, with time and convenience, they began to demand personalized services with enhanced capabilities, right? Previously, they would visit a branch, visit a sales representative from an organization. They would have a personal relationship. But with the pandemic, things have changed. They've gone into an online mode. And with this online mode, we're seeing that they want 24/7 access. They would like to be serviced when they are available. They want to transact with the convenience of their own devices and engage with apps that offer better user experiences. Given that this is trend number one, I have a question that I would like to begin by asking Thabileng. Here's a question posted to you. What are some of the challenges you've seen around implementing digital first customer service experience in the banks? Over to you, Thabileng.
Okay, I think when it comes to banks, one has to be mindful of the fact that the challenges sort of exist in different levels. So you would find that there are challenges that exist from a people perspective. And from a people perspective, you're seeing that we have people who are sitting in different roles that are really specific to function. So you find that the teams that we have are structured according to function. And as a result, you have different people that sit in different places that have to sort of come together and assist in making a decision. And very often when you have these teams that are segregated, there is a culture that sort of encourages a silo mentality. And as a result, it doesn't become easy for you to implement something that is digital, that is going to involve everyone and get input from the right people. So very often that type of structure from a people perspective actually encourages hierarchy. And we all know that when the moment there's hierarchy, there's a slowing down in decision making. So all of those things from a people perspective play a major role and sort of become a big challenge when it comes to implementing digital solutions, specifically in financial services, because we do have a history of being product based. We have a history of structuring our teams according to function. And the second thing that I am mindful of is basically from a systems perspective, and that is the existence of legacy systems. So you know that with the different parts of the businesses that exist and them sitting in different functional teams, they often come with different systems that they use for their specific customers. And as a result, when you want to implement a digital solution, you want to ensure that you have a system that is holistic in the way that it looks at a client and allows a client to move from one channel to another and get consistent service. And it becomes difficult sometimes because we have a bias towards a channel-based way of handling customers and a segment-based way of handling customers, and not necessarily a way that encourages a holistic, continuous way of assisting clients end to end. So that would be the challenges that would come from a system perspective. And the third one must be just from a process perspective. So each team would have different processes on how they would onboard their customers. And being a bank and financial services, we are very we are regulated, and we will have a different ways of approaching regulation when it comes to different teams. So you'd find that some teams would over comply, and other teams are okay with having the most simple way or the first layer of compliance. And because these different systems and different people sitting in different places are making decisions, it's not always easy to get buy-in from everyone at the same time around things and solutions that are client-centric. And I think what has really helped in the last couple of years is having agile teams that sit across functions in teams. So having those cross-functional teams and using agile methods of doing work has definitely made it easier for us to do our work and be able to implement those digital solutions. I think you're on mute. I'm struggling to hear you.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Thaviling. That was a wonderful opening. I have the next question to Yudhvir. How has this shift to digital changed the way you provide support for your customers in a banking scenario?
Thanks. So I guess it's very much based on understanding who the customer is, right? So number one, there's going to be certain customers, if we talk about a commercial banking context, there's going to be certain customers that are much more suited to doing things digitally. Typically, we would find that in smaller type of businesses. So businesses where there's just a single owner, it's a lot easier for some of their needs to be done digitally. The second one goes to talk about the complexity of the need. So there's certain needs that can be met digitally, other needs where no matter how much you try, you still require human interaction in order to get the complex need met. A great example would be specialized financing. If you are dealing with a very big client and they do want to, let's say, conduct a merger or an acquisition, there is a need for human intervention to be included in that digital offering. So what we found here is that it's the digital approach will work for simple needs, and the digital approach will work for relatively smaller type businesses. The same type of thing can be applied even to a retail banking context, where again, based on simplicity of needs, you can go digital with things. Based on the complexity or in the retail space, the the value of the customer in terms of their salary. They might be able to go digitally, or alternatively, they might want a more personalized approach. So it's very much a thing based on the need of the customer. We found that by separating those, we're able to then tailor make our solutions so that your smaller businesses can get what they are looking for, versus your larger business can also get what they're looking for. During the COVID pandemic, we have seen this need to be somewhat digital as well. So in other words, for complicated businesses where you couldn't actually go and travel around, you can still start off a conversation digitally and then be able to seamlessly move from that to another omnichannel experience. So it definitely taught us a lot of things about what should we be spending effort on versus what do we still need to maintain as a physical appearance versus a digital appearance.
Thank you, Yudhvir. I have a question for you, Akona. Given that a lot of millennials are currently investing in insurance, right? They see their future needs to be secured and are active with funds. How different or dominant is this trend in the customer segment?
Thanks, Vivek. So, well, this market, the millennials as well as the Gen Zs, we find that they are very money smart and they make their financial decisions based on experience. But they're also a very aspirational market who have observed the hardships of their mothers and their fathers and are part of a group that have recently started to get access to opportunities in a South African context. And they know better. Not only do they know better than their forefathers, they also want to know better. And they're also aware of where their money is going. So whether it's a responsible spend or an irresponsible spend, they are fully aware of the implications of that purchase. And this is really them trying to balance financial freedom to aspirational freedom. So now we find that where we are now, access to information is at an all-time high with omnichannel alternatives. And we also have very accessible platforms, that make savings and investments extremely easy. And these are all digital platforms. So your question as to how dominant is the trend, I mean, I can't really go into percentages because, they're always conflicting. But I mean, if you break it up into percentiles, so the older part of the millennial generation, we find that they value insurance a lot because they have made those asset-based purchases. They've bought the house, they've bought the car, they've brought children into this world, and now they need to cover them with insurance. But then you find that the younger percentile of this generation, they tend to favor investments, and that's them trying to achieve their financial freedom. But also, as I said, balancing that with the aspirations that they have.
Thank you, Akona. That's a very interesting perspective. In trying to get into the millennials' head is a very difficult task, and I think you have done a good analysis and able to bring about these trends from that. So moving on, I think Zenzele, we have a poll question for the audience. I hope you will push it into the tool while I speak about a customer of ours. Are we okay, Zenzele? I think you'll be bringing up the poll. Am I right? So that is for the participants to respond to the poll. So while I move on, should I wait for your response, Zenzele? Oh, yes, there it is.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, unfortunately, I can't vote. Yes, this is for the participants, for all of you. Please respond to that while I move on and just present to you what we have, why this trend came about, right? And how we got to this, right? We surveyed over 4,500 businesses and analyzed about 107 million customer interactions to understand that the key driver of customer satisfaction is in the financial services, right? And the data showed that the speed of service had the highest impact on CSAT. So the customers just want their responses right away, right? They are not willing to wait. They move on elsewhere if the response is not available immediately, right? And one such example that I'm showcasing here is Mama Money. They're into an interesting business of helping expats bring in money to their loved ones back home, right? While they were doing up to 1,500 transactions and inquiries per month. Once they enabled other channels that their customers could speak, the volume multiplied to 25,000 such requests, a 16-fold increase in the number of transactions that have been coming. And they were able to reduce their SLA from 49% to 89%, which is a great improvement in business, in catering to their customers, and going immediately responding to them brought about the additional business. So this is something wanted to share with you. And moving on to trend number 2, I think all of you spoke about omnichannel, right? And omnichannel is something that the customers are absolutely looking forward to, right? Previously, they would walk into a bank, walk into probably an insurance sales office, or ask somebody to come home, sales representative to come home, speak with them. But now they are in the middle of doing so many things, are so comfortable with some of the channels, right? Apart, like email, WhatsApp, or Facebook Messenger, or text message, Instagram, whatever channel that they are comfortable with, they would like to interact with the brand as well using the same channel. So this is an interesting trend. So if the financial institution does not cater to that particular digital media, or it could even be an offline media, right? You set up branches in respective regions so that people come in and speak to you there. Since the trend is moving on to omnichannel experience, I have a question. Let's start with Akona, a question for you. What are some of the biggest challenges when new age business models like fintech go omnichannel in a market like Africa?
Sure. Yeah, that's a loaded question. So about 6 years ago, I wrote an article entitled "Does Digital Divide?" And this really speaks to how digital was intended to make banking and financial services a lot more inclusive, but due to the cost of the infrastructure to go digital, so the lack of broadband infrastructure, and a lot of people relying on mobile data, which is highly expensive, you find that there's this tension with this, there's a tension with the intention of being inclusive, but actually, you've got these barriers of costs, which make it super expensive, to engage in a digital channel. So then with that context, I'd say access to data, but not just access to data, the willingness to spend data on these channels. Because data is so expensive, and because there's so many activities that we wish to do on digital channels, you find that you now need to start prioritizing. Okay, fine. So I've got X amount. I need to email. I need to go on Facebook. I need to, read up on this. I need to do this online study. You have to start now to prioritize what you're going to do on the limited access to data that you have, because the data costs are so high. And then also the issue of Papaya and the education and implementation of Papaya. Before Poppy came into effect, we found that companies were taking advantage of customer information. So there's a lot of trust when companies want to interact in a digital channel because of what customers have experienced before. So Poppy, I feel, would make it easier, or make trust easier, because then the customer information is kept safe. And then we also have, in an African context, very cash dominant societies and industries. So industries and societies that still hold on to cash, which then makes the whole element of omnichannel quite challenging. And then also from the other end, and this speaks to what Ntabileng was speaking about, is almost like the ability of financial services to keep up with the very tax savvy expectations. So Ntabileng spoke about legacy systems and all of the channels that corporates struggle with, and the ability to transform these to these kind of like agile, quick customer journeys that really do meet up with customer expectations, and really about businesses' ability to unlearn and relearn and design a new business as usual. Because yes, we do speak digital. However, if you're still dealing with legacy systems, it makes the whole transition from a customer expectation quite challenging.
Thank you, Akona. Next question to you, Thabiling. Given that your major interaction with customers happens over digital channels now, how important do you think delivering a seamless omnichannel experience is?
I think it's very important. I think it's crucial. Honestly speaking, I don't think customers see channels. I don't think customers say, I've gone to a branch now, and then I'm now on the app. We have channels internally as institutions because they make it easier for us to sort of perfect the experience in each channel. But when it comes to our customers themselves, our customers actually see brands. So when customers interact with us, they say, I interacted with Nedbank. I went to Nedbank and this is what happened. They don't say, I went to a branch in X in this particular area. They might specify where it is that they went, but at the end of the day, the experience that has taken place there is a brand experience and not necessarily just specific to that particular channel. And as a result, we need to be mindful of customer needs from a touch point perspective, and not necessarily only from a channel perspective. And that is why it's so important for us to actually map out the customer journey and understand what the customer is going through from an experience perspective, and see what it is that they experience in each and every touch point that they have with our brand, because at every point that they interact with the brand, they form perceptions about that particular brand. So people would actually conclude that Nedbank is like this because they had an experience at a specific branch and they were treated in a certain way in that particular branch, and as a result they formulate perceptions that are brand specific. So it's not just our marketing that speaks to customers, but it's actually how we treat customers in each and every touch point. And as a result, I think that it's so important that we have an omnichannel experience and design when it comes to interacting with our clients, understanding that our clients, we are as strong as our weakest channel or our weakest touch point. And if we ensure that we have great experience and a great service for our customers throughout the journey that they have with us, regardless of the touch points that they are interacting with us in, we can ensure that our customers will have an overall great experience and an overall great journey. So it is quite important that we allow our customers to start conversations with us in our digital platforms and be able to continue the conversation at a branch and be able to pick that up in the call center, and the experience becomes great and consistent throughout those different channels.
Thank you, Thabiling. I think you brought in a very interesting perspective here, saying that customers don't see channels, they see a brand, right? And they would like to swing between different channels, right? Use different media, but they want the conversation to continue. So it's important to have a digital uniform background that keeps track of what the customer wants irrespective of the channel. That's a very interesting perspective here. And also what Akona brought in about personal data being kept safe, right, to meet regulations, to ensure that the privacy and information of the customer is not leaking. I know all of you are doing a lot of work in keeping that safe and secure, the information you have about the customer, and using it only for their benefit. Yeah, and so I'd like to bring about something interesting on this particular omnichannel experience, right? Where, you know, Harvard Business Review coined this term called DigiCare, which is digital and physical experiences combined, right? So they make a digital profile of the person, all their interactions, are stored in a particular tool, in a particular solution, and the physical experience of speaking, let's say about a wealth management, a customer visiting a wealth management company, they're expecting a lot more. They expect the brand to know what their goals are, how they're going to achieve it, right? If they have bought a product earlier, they would expect the next, when they're going in for their next transaction, that the platform or the brand should know, irrespective of the channel, what it is that they, what their goals are. They wouldn't want to be repeating them again and again. If you see, in order to cater to this, Klara is an interesting Swedish fintech company, which enables online shopping, right? For example, we have several brands in Africa that are providing online retail and e-commerce. What Klarna brings in is the comfort of making the process of making the payments using various channels, right? Be it through a phone, be it through various digital media, or even offline experiences, cash on delivery, and so on. So they form a layer in between. And what they have noticed is, they take conversations to the right agent immediately, right? By having a digital platform that would map the particular request that's coming in to the skill set of an agent who can respond. So that's quick, and focus on customers that need immediate attention, and ensure that things that take longer would probably be handled by a live agent, right? Or things that are mundane queries like, when will my package be coming? Did my payment go through? That's done using digital integrations and immediately responded to the customer. So this is an interesting case that I wanted to present. Moving on to trend number 3, which is messaging and mobile conversations refining delight. So customers appreciate the ability to continue conversation at their own pace on an app they already use, right? So this ties back to the omnichannel, right? Like using Facebook Messenger, chat. I'm just repeating just to bring that impact again. WhatsApp is really emerging all across Africa. We're seeing that most of our customers, I'm sure even our panelists here would notice that WhatsApp is a popular channel, irrespective of data being expensive. I think that's something Akona brought up. But even though it is expensive, people tend to use it because of the convenience. They're already using it to speak with their family and would like to speak with the brands also using that. In general, if you look at the trend, average cost per phone interaction, right? Of course, we have support agents who are waiting to speak to our customers on the phone, but that costs about $15 for an interaction, right? Including a lot of loaded costs, the agent cost, the facility cost, the availability of the toll-free number. Whereas moving it to messaging media, it could be SMS, it could be any other channel that we're talking about. It brings the cost considerably less expensive, bringing it down to $1 to $5 if we move away from a voice-based interaction with the customer. So this is something we have noticed and been able to bring together. So this offers the customers the capability of connecting with advisors or financial sales reps through messaging, and the convenience of engaging on a mobile device is helping the financial services sector foster deeper bonds that drive loyalty. So trend 3 is not something our panelists are directly working on, but if you would like to comment on it, I'm okay to take a comment from any of the panelists, or we can move on trend 3. Okay, so I'll move on. Yeah, I think there's a question and answer also. let's look at the questions. Okay, the questions are too big for us to handle. We're talking about a war there that none of us have the authority or imagination to speak about how it's going to impact us. So I will rather stick to CX trends in BFSI for now, and maybe we can revisit that if somebody has an opinion towards the end. And talking about the cost saving using the messaging channel, I'd also like to bring up one of our customers here called Debt Busters, who brought in 60% reduction in their cost interactions over calls for the financial services that they offer. Right? What Debt Busters brings about is offers citizens a lifeline to regain financial stability by easy credit repayment options. So they're one of our customers, and they have helped over 75,000 customers with debt consolidation, debt counseling, and financial expertise, right? And we see that they were able to achieve 95% of customer satisfaction by adding live chat as a support channel. So this is an interesting trend in this particular industry, and I'm sure it's applicable to the rest of the financial services industry as well. So I'd like to move on to trend number 4, which is advisor empowerment drives customer diligence, right? So what this is we have dedicated employees within our financial institutions who are catering to customer questions, queries, inquiries, making sales, and so on, right? How do we make sure that our employees or our staff are equipped to handle customer queries and interactions in a timely fashion, right? And are able to solve their queries in as much as a specific call window or a particular chat session, and not let it linger on for a long period of time, right? And also, if you see, agents have had to face the brunt of recent pandemic-induced upheavals, soaring query volumes, increasing customer anxiety related to finances or account support issues, given that the sensitive information or cutting down phone support lines have made their job harder, right? So what we need to do, that's something that our panelists will talk about. As dedicated as they are, the threat of burnout is very real, right? And we see that direct-to-consumer banks and fintechs have started to recognize this and are reprioritizing the well-being of their teams and not letting them burn out. So while we're on this topic, I had a question for Yudhvir. Yes, question for you is, what are your thoughts on empowering customer success or tech support teams in the BFSI sector?
Thanks. So I guess equally as customer experience is important, equally important is also employee experience. So ensuring that your employees are well looked after, which doesn't just talk about remuneration, but a whole bunch of things that go into the value proposition. Do you have a good working environment? Is there support? During pandemic times, as much as you're talking about burnout, you're also talking about emotional factors that come in from contracting COVID or losing somebody due to COVID. So there has to be the support, I guess, not just from a work perspective, but more of the employee's well-being. So that the work stuff is fairly easy, ensure processes are in place, and make the employee's working life easy enough, but also being able to show that there's this holistic support that goes beyond just the actual work that the employee does. A great example over here would be the looting and rioting that happened in the country last year. Companies had to move into a space where employees were physically in danger based on whichever province, etc., they were living in at the time. So being able to show that a company cares for its employees becomes a little bit easier, because similar to the point made about it's not about channel, it's about the brand. Your employees also are your easiest or best brand ambassadors. So if employees do not feel as if they are treated well by the company that they work for, similarly, they're not going to be able to look after customers that they're supposed to be looking after. So ensuring that employee experience is holistic. In some cases, that means redesigning stuff from the very beginning. So looking to ways of working with pandemic, looking at now going back to blended approaches, ensuring that those ways of working are there, and then also ensuring that there's the general support of flexibility and well-being. We're now in a stage where it's not a requirement for a lot of companies to be physically in the office 100% of the time. There's value in going back into the office, but that value now needs to be, let's maybe use the word, contrasted against productivity. If you're more productive in a particular location, then by all means, that's important. That being said, there's also value in having face-to-face interactions, such as brainstorming. It's very difficult to go and do brainstorming when you're just talking to a screen. So the focus on EX has always started to become more and more of an imperative, especially during pandemic times. And again, you can apply the same concepts. If I have a problem with my access to my laptop, who do I phone? Do I need to physically go in to see the IT department? Or do I, can I reach them without? So the same challenges that the customer faces, if the employee can overcome those challenges by what's been provided or helped them by their company, then it makes it that much easier to move that over to the customer side as well.
Thank you, Yudhvir. I remember during the events last year, I was interacting with a customer from Clicks Group. They have the pharmaceutical chain throughout South Africa. And they were so dedicated to roll out what they had and enable their customers to go in for an online way of interacting. And we supported and helped them, let them happen. And the point in contact that I was speaking with, she was like, I'm going to a store now because this is my designated slot to go and pick up groceries and come back. But she didn't, drop on her commitment to the organization and what she had to deliver there. So I guess it's an evolving trend, and all of us need to empower our team members and employees and allow them to function in their full capacity. While we're talking about the same advisor empowerment, I have a question for Thabileng. Your top 2 things banking contact centers can do to optimize cases where agents deal with large call volumes, increase call handling times.
I'm going to disappoint you because I'm not going to give 2 things. I don't think there's a list of things that you can exhaust to solve the nature of the problem that exists in call centers around volumes. But I do think there's an approach that one can adapt that can make things easier. And I think I would propose that more service design goes into call centers. By service design, I mean that we look at solving problems from a holistic perspective, very much in line with what Yudhvir has mentioned around when you have a customer journey that you've mapped up for a particular product or service, and you know exactly what your customers need, then go back to the internal process and find out what is required from a process perspective to make this easier for the customer, and then what is required from a staff member's perspective, from the people perspective that would make this possible. What is required from the regulatory perspective, because we know that financial services are very much regulated. What I want to propose is that in the call center environment, we get everyone's voice in the room. So get the voice of the call center agent who answers these calls, because they have input that they can contribute in terms of how to better build a system that works best for customers. I firmly believe that the call center agents are not people who have values that are opposite to what is required by the customer. So I don't think that we should have customer journeys that don't include employee journeys at the same time. And what employees want to actually do their job well is not necessarily something that is opposite to what customers need. So I do think that if we can actually have good service design in call centers, where we rely on call centers to give feedback and have these feedback loops that exist between the rest of the business, the design and the call center, and not just getting quants feedback from them, like how many calls are coming through, what's the trend like when it comes to calls, but getting more qualitative type of feedback from the call centers as how does this system make them feel? How does working with this type of product and explaining these type of things feel for the users in the call center? In that way, you are able to design something that is more holistic and that answers the problems and the burning issues that the staff members have as much as what the customers require. In that way, you have a good balance of the employee experience as well as the staff experience. So I really think that we have an opportunity to actually mine and have good service design that happens in the call center environment. And it's not going to happen just by us reactively responding to high call volumes. It's going to be something that happens when we come together and say, how can we best design for this environment and ensure that our staff members are empowered? How do we bring in training into that environment for them to be able to equip the staff members better? How do we bring in tech into this environment to actually have the best systems for the call center? So it's not just one thing that needs to be done. It's a combination of a few things that need to be done. It all starts with having good design that takes place in the environment.
Thank you, Thabiling. I think you brought in literally everything that an agent would want, right? They would want to be heard. They would want processes to be designed such that they can contribute to the process. They would want a tool that is user friendly for them as well. I think that's.
I used to work in the call center, so I do have a bit of a bias for the people, and I'm quite passionate about the call center environment. I spent a couple of years of my career, started out in the call center, so I am definitely passionate about that.
Sure, thank you. Also, to conclude on this particular trend, I'd like to touch upon what Yudhvir shared about having employee experience focus, right? So we need to, apart from process and them handling, also their well-being, allowing them to collaborate from different locations, giving them a good amount of break, enabling them to, reach out to different team members such as sales, say product, let's say finance, to get approvals. So allowing them also to feel wanted and enabling and reducing their time. So thanks for that. There is a poll coming up, Zenzele, if you can please flash the poll. Have you seen improvements in customer delight as a direct result of agent empowerment? While you flash that for our participants, I will just move on to what we have seen to talk about on this particular trend. Right, leaders are seriously considering the issue of agent fatigue in banking and fintech contact centers and looking at ways to empower them. I think that's what we just spoke about. Introducing live chat as a support channel to shift phone volumes and deflect common cases is a very interesting trend, which reduces the amount of speaking and also allows agents to multitask, right? So if there is one incoming request on a chat, so they could respond, maybe ask a question, await the customer to respond while they move on to the next task. So it helps in multitasking. You don't have to staff as many people for that. And also, if the application or the tool on which they are receiving their calls and inquiries has configuration where you can auto route tickets based on their skill and bandwidth, right? You don't expect every agent to know every product and its entire nitty-gritties. So you would like that to be spread out, and the tool to figure out who can do what, right? And also the capability of splitting tickets, right? So if there is an inquiry on, let's say, a billing issue and a product, right? So there should be a capability to divide that particular inquiry into two different channels. Two different people are handling it, and it should be able to respond. So these are some of the interesting ways to optimize your team and make sure that they can work to their maximum capacity. And moving on to our final trend, which is something that everybody's talking about, and everybody is probably moving in this direction. To what extent is it needed? I think that's what we're talking about, right? From taking over manual activities from agents to helping them handle volumes, right? So AI-powered chatbots, be it whatever channel of interaction, right, are greatly efficient tools. So what they do is now businesses are starting to explore how their investment can go that extra mile to elevate customers and agent experiences. Using AI-enabled chatbots, right, banks, NBFCs, and fintechs can have personalized, touchless interactions with clients, right? It's touchless, but it's personalized because the bot would be able to pick certain history and background of the end customer and bring that into the conversation that they're having. So while we're on this topic, I have a question for Akona. What are your thoughts on balancing human intervention and technology when it comes to providing a seamless customer experience for a high-value product like insurance?
Thanks, Vivek. So, I mean, omnichannel is about value creation, and it's about balancing the capacity of a company together with, growth and scale, with our customer experience and the customer expectations. So, with omnichannels, they work if we're able to create seamless end-to-end customer journeys. And the rule of thumb is that, the higher a premium paid by a customer, the greater the expectation for human touch. So the higher you're paying, the more a human interaction is expected. And then also to the point that Yudvia was saying as well, where simplicity versus complexity. So we always find that when products are simple and it's business as usual and the customer is not complaining about engaging, then they have no issues going to technology to solve that problem. However, when things get a little bit more complex, then you find that customers value human creation as well. So at the end of the day, really, omni-channels, it's really about collecting as much data on the customer as possible. So your analytics in terms of customer engagement and trends, granular customer data, has to be spot on, and that enables you to target the customer better, which then moves from automation to prediction, because now you are starting to customize and you're starting to tailor a customer experience. And through that market personalization across the channels, then you're able to build these sales journeys and these customer journeys using that personalized data. And also what is needed is a motivated sales force. So ultimately, once you've got that platform where the customer can engage with, you require a really, really motivated team that is also equipped with the right tools to almost like manage that omni-channel environment.
Thank you, Akona. Next question I have is to Yudhvir. How is First National Bank making use of deep insights into details like customers' transaction history for improving service standards?
Cool. I think we've touched on some of these throughout the conversation. So the first one goes and says that your interaction history with the bank shows us what channels you prefer to use and which ones you don't prefer to go and use. So as a result of finding out those preferences, whether those preferences are per channel, whether they are point in time, so like I don't know, I might prefer phone calls after 5 p.m., but before 5 p.m., I'm happy to go and converse via SMS or email. Those granular insights to what Akona mentioned is the starting point of any interactions to go and figure out what is your customer's preferred channel And from there to then figure out then how then do you try and surface things to them, whether it's a product take up, whether it's a solution or a service that you want to provide for them. So starting off with that grounding in data, that's then turned into, I guess historically we talk about rewards programs, so that's turned into like your eBucks rewards programs as an idea of being able to generate this interest for customers to be able to do activity 1, 2, and 3 and get rewarded with points. On a smaller scale, you're talking about the ability to ensure that you understand the needs of the customer, so that when you go and get results coming out of customer satisfaction studies, out of share of wallet, out of market share studies, you can improve on what your customers are saying from those points. So I guess that the biggest example here would be our eBucks rewards program, and whether we're talking in the retail context or in the commercial context, that's been something that was historically very, very big in using data to enhance the customer experience. Something more recent on the commercial side would be the integrations between different service providers. So as an example, if I'm running a business, me trying to capture my accounting or my financial statement information is sometimes very, very time consuming. How can the bank help me by partnering with providers such as Sage Pastel in order to make this easier for the life of the customer? So you do also have those integration points that says your data showed that your customers are paying Sage Pastel in order to provide their accounting services for them. How do we make their life simpler by doing so? By allowing that integration between the banking system as well as the accounting-based software. So two examples of more of one, a banking product like eBucks versus the other one of integration and working with fintech partners in order to then enhance those offerings.
Thank you, Yadvir. That was interesting. Going on to Thabileng, I think this is the final point about our trend. Specific to banking, where do you think is predictive technology heading for 2022? And what challenges do you want to solve with this?
I think looking at the type of customer that we now have that sort of wants everything at their fingertip, there's an expectation for us to be able to deliver things immediately. And as a result of that, we can no longer rely on client requests and then being able to deliver. I think what's going to happen going forward is that we need to have a way of anticipating what customers would want before they ask for it in order for us to be able to deliver it quick enough. And I think that's a huge opportunity for us in banking to be able to look at the customer as a whole and find out if we pick up a trend in them buying a house, how do we ensure that we are able to provide them with products that might be suitable for them as a first-time owner. So we're moving away from just having a view of the customer as just as a divided entity that sort of focuses on one product at a time, but we're moving to a more way of helping customers bundle their own products according to their needs, as opposed to having preset bundles that we have as a bank that focuses on what we think we should sell to customers.
Thank you, Thabileng. I think that was an interesting roundup of how we can use predictive technology, right, going forward, and that being an high investment area for literally everybody. We need to see the amount of value that this particular automation with prediction brings to it. Yeah, with that, I think we have come to an end of our interaction, and maybe we'll take a couple of questions. I just had, I think there's an interesting case where we have a payment platform popular in India called PhonePe, where they are one of our largest payments apps, and they have successfully automated, up to 80% of their incoming queries with bots that use predictive technology to a large extent, where it captures the emotional quotient of the particular words used while interacting with the bot, and is able to give pointed specific answers or links by integrating, as Yadvir mentioned, back with the back office systems, with the banking systems, and is able to bring back that information just to give exactly what response is needed there. So yeah, so with that, I think we have one final poll. While that poll is being brought up by Zenzele, I would like to try and address, bring up a couple of questions, if possible, if we can, any of our panelists can speak about them, or we can move on, right? Do banks want all their customers to be digitally active? Is that something any of you are expecting? Would you like to take that?
I think I'll take that one.
Sure.
I don't think it's up to the banks to decide. Obviously, there's definitely benefit in having our customers digital, but we need to understand that digital has to be enabled. And in most cases, especially in the African context, we have to be able to make it easier for our customers to be onboarded to digital platforms. And we need to be able to provide our customers with a channel of their choice. So if customers are saying they prefer to go into a branch, we should be able to provide them with a service that is quick and effective at branch level. And if they prefer to go into a call center, we need to be able to provide them with call center experience that is seamless. So it's not really up to the banks to decide that digital is the way to go, but definitely there's a lot of benefit that comes with digital, but we need to ensure that we listen to our customers. And if you listen to us, an African customer, they are definitely saying that they want a hybrid option, and that is what banks are offering at the moment.
I mean, if I could just chip in, Vivek, I mean, ideally, yes. I mean, I'd say ideally, banks would want to be completely digital because that provides them with scale, but also just latching on to Thabeleng's point. One trend that you found like a couple of years ago is that the banks were choosing which customers they're going to go fully digital on based on the premiums that they were paying. So the more valuable you were to the bank in terms of how much money you gave the bank, then you'd almost get a more in-person experience because that costs more. And if you were, and then what happened, Capitec almost came in and then they completely kind of like killed that model, because even though they focused at like almost like grassroots banking with a lot of branches, and really latching onto Thabeleng's point, it just showed that the customer is not wanting, you can't define a customer based on how much they're paying. You need to define a customer's needs based on what they want. And that is how Capitec actually came and became the second largest retailer bank, despite only being 21 years old, because they, like Thabeleng said, listened to what it is that the customer wanted.
Thank you, Akona. I think the next question is also for you, Akona. I think it's in kind of comes in your area of expertise. Should customers worry about information security as they interact with our channels? And how do we create a lasting confidence in this space?
I mean, as a customer, I'd say yes, but as an employee, I'd like to say no. To almost like give customers an assurance. There's a lot of money and the trend generally, not even just the company that I work for, but general companies. There's a lot of investment that's being spent on cybersecurity, protection of information. Coding information. I mean, even sending information in-house, you can't just send whatever you want to send within the company. It all has to be, protected with passcodes, depending on the sensitivity of the information. I'm talking about anything that requires customer information. In our case, we decode it, we uncode it, we add passcodes, et cetera, et cetera. So in and around that space, it is very, very secure. And in our environment, and also in most companies as well, they will never ask you for personal information in a non-secure manner. So there's a lot of money that's being spent in ensuring that customer information is kept secure, and because there's heavy implications if it's not.
Thank you, Akona. I think there are a lot of questions from our participants. They've been really interactive, but I'll take just one and I'll direct it to Yadvir. What is the cost of going digital for a customer? In terms of, it need not be money, it could be in multiple ways for the organization or for the customer. Yeah, we'll conclude with that question.
I think the one cost would be what is the end result of that client's retention. So in other words, if you're offering me a fully digital experience and if I don't have any problems, then great, as long as everything is up and running and working, then I have no hassles. But the minute I have a problem and it cannot be solved digitally, by you forcing me to go into one particular channel, you are inevitably forcing me out, and that will result in switching banks. Because at the end of the day, if you are saying this is a way to go and it's not living up to my expectations, I would be very unhappy. I might complain, I may not complain, but I'd be more likely to switch to any of the other competitors. So the cost of going down a fully digital strategy is certainly a very dangerous or tightrope to go and walk between saying you need everything to be up and running 100% of the time, but you also need to ensure that it is suitable for the customer. Again, you're not going to expect an 80-year-old person to be able to want to do things digitally. Yet if they're forced to go and do things digitally, then you are and inevitably creating a bad customer experience for them. The physical cost, I guess, yes, there's infrastructure spend and those type of things. So you would expect a knock in your bottom line immediately. But if you target it right to the right type of customers, such as your younger generation or those that are more inclined to be digital, then you do end up improving your bottom line over the years. Yeah, I'd say those two in closing.
Thank you, Yadvir. I'd like to hand the baton back to Denzele to conclude our interaction today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vivek, Tabeleng, Akona, and Yadvir. Very insightful conversation there. There are a lot of lessons that surely we can learn as far as CX is concerned, and I think this webinar cannot exhaust all the discussions and conversations about this technology or the CX element within the financial services industry. I see there are a lot of questions that came through. I will share those questions with the panelists, and they will make an attempt to answer them, after the webinar. And also, should you be interested in having a personalized demo with Freshdesk, you can always respond to the registration email, or you can send an email to info@fintechsummit.co.za. Then we'll surely forward your details to Freshworks team. And the recording, yes, will be available, sent to everyone who attended the webinar. So rest assured, you will get the recording. With that, I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this webinar. We really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day further or evening. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.